Hi. This is me talking to you. I am sitting here right now with my cat on the floor. She's heating herself, warming up from the heater from a cold snap that came through from Winter Storm Billy in Tucson. It dropped 45 degrees within a couple days. Crazy. Does that make me crazy? No, that does not make me crazy. That makes the climate a little wonka-doodle-donkle-doo. Any hoot, I'm calling up my buddy again, Ben Smith, to have another chit-chat. Chit-chat paddywhat. And we are going to talk about some fun stuff for you to listen to. There might be some sniggles and some giggles and some wiggles where there weren't any before. Please sit back, lie down. Now sit up. Now lie back. Now jump up real fast. Now take it easy and enjoy yourself.
All my friends till the very end. Thank you for the fun and the play. Until next time, I hope you all do fine. Live to see another day. My pals and my peers, throughout all the years, you've done so much and wished me well.
Get going, Ben, after you do the intro.
Hey everyone, we're back. I'm talking again to my buddy Ben Smith. Back for another round. Another round with my hound. A 2-hound round. What is happening, man?
Hello! Hound round. Hound round
Sound
number
round.
2.
Sound round hound. We're morphing into like a Dr. Seussian world.
Yeah. The sound
Adult
of
world.
the hound round.
Sound of the hound round. It really now is. I mean, I think I've been reading so many Dr. Seuss books to the little one that it's just even more in my wheelhouse now to be rhyming.
That's your excuse.
Yeah, that's my excuse. I was doing nonsense rhyming, but now it's just like off the charts.
It's got to be a little bit more G-rated now, though.
Yes. Yeah, before it was like, a lot more cursing and, Seuss, adult Seuss.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And now we're getting into, G-rated and has to be like that. But with you,
it'd probably be a good market for adult Seuss these days. Like they're doing adult coloring books. That's huge.
Yeah.
My aunt
you're
buys
right.
those. And she just gets colored pencils and geeks out.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a training I was in a few years ago, and I just I was sitting in the back. I was assisting for this training, and I just kept looking into the audience, and there was just a plethora of people just doing the adult drawing, the coloring books and
adult drawings.
There was people doing naked pictures and all kinds of
various fornication sketches,
X-rated sketches during this training. And so I'm wondering what you've been up to since we spoke last.
Yeah, well, there's still the global biological snafu.
Yeah.
So
there's a big snafu.
But I went to Portsmouth and got to see a friend from the Mid-Atlantic region.
Ooh.
A New York City friend who was up, and that was nice. Portsmouth was beautiful.
Where's Portsmouth?
Portsmouth is it's just an hour east of Manchester. It's right on the coast. Beautiful old coastal town, but it's not beachy. It's more of a city. I mean, it's very walkable, and it's got fun downtown. And
did you anything?
nice.
What were you doing there? Just getting a little beach time?
No, like I said, they don't have a beach there. It's like a port town, you know.
Right, you
Imagine.
did just say that, and I still interjected that there's a beach there. I'm still like convinced that there's a beach there.
So you went to the beach. Yeah.
So when
That's
you
what I was
were
gonna ask. It was like 45 degrees.
when you were boogie boarding, the beach. um um I do imagine though that it's
You're
like
just imagining I'm always boogie boarding.
I imagine you're always on a boogie board.
So it's a port town, but yeah, so you were boogie boarding.
So when you leave your house there in New Hampshire, you just boogie board to the co-op, boogie board on wheels. Um, that must have been great, though. That's probably really nice.
That was nice, getting out a little bit.
Yeah.
I went to you'd be happy to hear. I went to a juice bar.
Ooh.
And
Juice
I took
bar.
a real risk. You know, I got a beverage that was a mix of fruit and vegetables, which I usually find like is a line you shouldn't cross. But
I agree. Yeah.
the woman working there talked me into it. I said, that sounds interesting. And but fruit and vegetables. And she said, it tastes like banana bread. Just get it.
Whoa.
And I like when people tell me what to get. So I got it.
Yeah. Was it like banana bread?
It tasted like banana bread. And it was fabulous. I can't even remember all of what was in it. It was like bananas, dates, almond butter. The vegetable component was like they juiced a bunch of stuff, like carrot juice, ginger juice. So it had that, like the ginger was spicy with like the banana and it did taste like a baked good. I don't know what the hell they did, but it was fabulous.
A drinkable baked good.
And usually with those juices, it's like it can be too much because it's just, it's a lot of ingredients. It's a lot of raw foods at once. So usually I get like a modest thing, but I just went for it and got like the XL. It was like this, like the double big gulp looking thing. And I drank the whole thing.
That's nice.
Yeah, I felt amazing.
Whoa, that sounds good.
Yeah.
That sounds really good right now. Jeez.
Yeah, people should go out there and drink that.
Yeah. Yeah, they need to go get some. You need to go get a little taste. Drink it up. We are
what have you been doing?
What have I been doing?
Since we spoke.
Yeah, since we spoke last week. I'm taking
6 days in between, really, right? What did you
do? Yeah, because this is a weekly show.
Did you kill anyone?
I didn't. No.
No murder?
Not that I'm aware of. If I was sleep killing, I didn't do any of that. Yeah, not a whole lot. Just it's still been really hot, and then it got really cold. I was just telling you before we started the show, it's like went from 100 degrees, dropped within 10 days down to 55 degrees because of Winter Storm Billy. Apparently, that's what they're calling it. Meanwhile, there's a tropical storm. It's a nice name, and there was a tropical storm.
Here comes Billy.
Yeah, it's chilly time. It's chilly. So, but other than that, no, I'm doing well. I'm just kind of reading and trying to get out a little bit. It's nice to walk around outside here.
Shh. Sorry about that.
Easy boy.
Quiet,
I know it's Halloween coming up. Getting ready for the full moon there.
You know it.
Dude, so I was wondering, we had talked about focusing a little bit in here, talk about hyper focus, like a little bit more of a focus.
Yes.
This episode on a couple little ditties. One of which is you brought up last time, and I'm totally digging it. Is that movie from? Is it late 80s or early 90s? The Burbs.
Late 80s. 89.
I'm pretty sure I saw it in the theater.
I mentioned it because it was on Starz Network, which is part of our cable package, and I watched it very recently. And you remember movies like that charmed you as a kid, and it's a lot of times you rewatch them and they're just garbage, but I mean, that one just hits on all these other levels I didn't get as a kid.
Yeah.
That really interested me. So I was like, this is cool because it's like it's super pleasurable to rewatch for nostalgia's sake, but it also it's got a lot of kind of grown-up content that you wouldn't pick up on as a kid that the rewatch allows for. That's really cool too.
Just to give a light rundown without giving any spoilers here, in case people haven't seen it, there is this cul-de-sac that these families live in, in the
Oh, you did your
suburbs.
research.
No, I'm just going off the top of my head. This is what I
There's no way
remember.
you remembered it was a cul-de-sac.
Trust me, I swear to you.
I'm impressed.
I swear to dog
I'm
that I
impressed.
remember that it was a cul-de-sac. This is
watched it and I didn't even know it was a cul-de-sac, but I admittedly looked it up because I was really curious about the street itself because it looks so real. And it turns out it is a lot that was used on a number of other things.
That makes sense.
And then I was like, oh yeah, I guess it is a cul-de-sac, like where the old man's house is. It kind of loops around.
Yeah, so there's these neighbors there. This family moves in that's kind of creepy, and basically, a couple of neighbors start teaming up who are buddies. Three guys: Tom Hanks, Bruce Dern. I forget the third guy. I don't know what his name is.
Yeah, he's only in a few movies. It's funny because after that one was on, another day also on cable was Spaceballs, and that guy plays one of the mock stormtroopers in Spaceballs.
He does.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
Which is surprising. Like I guess he ended up getting remedial roles because he's hilarious in that movie.
Yeah, he's really funny.
And he's so cocky the whole movie. It's like basically these three dads, in a way.
Yeah.
And like just going full dad mode, territorial on their block. But
yes.
I love how he's sort of the one that's the loose cannon because the wife's gone all week while they're doing all this plotting and everything. So at the very end of the movie, when the wife comes back, it's when you finally see like the real him where he's like, your wife's back. They're yelling to him and he's, oh, fuck.
It's quite a romp. And then the whole movie takes place just there in that one spot.
That's one of the brilliant things about the movie. There's not a single shot that leaves that street, which is really cool.
They could almost adapt it to a theater show, a modern day adaptation of the Burbs, a musical, the Burbs the musical.
Sign me up.
Well, there's also I remember there's the other guest star in there is Corey Feldman.
He's great in it, and his role is interesting too because the movie just seems so sort of self-conscious when you watch it again.
Yeah.
Like his character is in a way like the stand-in for the audience, and it's almost the target audience when you think about like 89 and it's like this it's horror / comedy at a time when you weren't getting as much hybridity with genres, so which is we're just all so used to now.
I never thought of that. It was like it was a really great mixture of the two genres there. Yeah.
Well, I mean, part of the reason it's so good, the writer was a comedy writer, and was it the director, the producer, that guy Joe Dante?
Dante did it.
He came out of horror, so I think you had the writer. That writer is really smart, and Olsen. And I think
as director is Joe Dante, writer is Dana Olsen.
So he did direct. Yeah. So you've got this writer who knows how to, go for the larger audience and I think go in for the laughs. And then you've got this director that, knows how to do real horror. And
dude. So I had no idea. He come on. He did Gremlins, Explorers.
Olsen?
Yeah. Inner Space.
He wrote all those films?
He directed them. That's Joe Dante. Joe Dante. I had no idea he did the Howling.
I thought he did a bunch of horror films. Yeah, there you go. I was
the Howling. That's like classic horror. I showed that to my partner and one of our friends last Halloween.
Yeah.
I was like, let's watch the Howling. I showed that. I did a screening. They kind of like laughed at me a little bit, saying, "Oh, this is silly." And dude, I was a little offended.
Yeah.
The Howling is like full on. I think it's one of the best werewolf movies for the season. Some of the transformation scenes are just bar none like the best. I mean, they rival American Werewolf in London transformation scene, which might be the epitome of like werewolf scenes. But anyway, so these guys know their stuff. They're coming from a really good background in horror, and then oh yeah, the writer here. I'm just looking at what else he wrote.
I mean, I think
okay.
it's a super unique movie. It's so
Yeah.
tightly packaged too. I mean, that's what I like. It's just so concise. It's the block. It's to me historically fascinating too, with the failure of those three dads. It's like
Yeah.
they want to protect the block, but what's revealed is, I mean, Hanks has that insane monologue at the end of the movie. It's so brilliant. And, where he goes into this whole soliloquy saying, because they've been so convinced that these neighbors that moved in, are mass murderers. And he's saying, it's not them that's the problem, it's us. And that line just hits so hard. It's like, it's not even funny at that point in the movie, because in a way, like, you could just read that to any social parallel,
Yeah.
like, like you could have a fantasy of like, Trump supporting MAGA idiots having that realization of like, you know what, like, we're pointing at these people as mobsters. We're pointing at these people as insane and violent. Wait a minute, it's us. We're the ones going nuts. We're the ones surveilling culture. We're the one. But you could just see it on a lot of different levels. I think it's just the grand other.
Yes.
We need like a Lacan scholar for this stuff, but I just think that moment in the movie is so cool, because like, and you think about 89, it's like it is kind of this moment where there's like maybe the foundations of middle class America start to feel a little bit of that rumble that we now are seeing the full decay of. And and even maybe just like this the slow erosion of the consecrated, like white alpha male suburban identity, and
yeah.
Hank's realization, hey, maybe we are the problem. Just super interesting. And also, what's so fun is like, after that brilliant monologue, which just seems so ridiculous and selfish of the writer, is like, we're going to give you the incredible, we're going to give you this incredible dramatic, like guilt-driven ending, and then reverse
is there a spoiler?
Give you
No spoiler.
The movie ending you thought you were getting, which is, yes, they actually are.
Wait, no spoiler. This is a spoiler. Cover your ears if you're listening.
Oh, well, this picture's been out for 30 years, so
I'm making it sound like it just premiered at Cannes.
Yeah, exactly. This will not be at Cannes this year.
All right, so anyway, it turns out, yes.
Well, yeah, so he's saying it's us, and then like 10 minutes later, you realize actually the whole time they weren't insane about the suspicion about the neighbor. They were correct, and
yeah,
they are mass murderers.
And aren't they German?
It's never revealed. I mean, that's the thing. Like, maybe that's even like a little in for where you could read into that kind of like grand other in that monologue, because there is the sequence where the group of dads go over to the house and they bring the wives. And remember, Hank's wife is Carrie Fisher, who's really good in the picture.
Oh my gosh!
And
I forgot that one.
Yeah.
Wow.
And and she's great in it. And I like her role just being like, pissed, but just kind of like rolling through the motions. But there's this thing of like, knowing that this group of men are really like the children, and they're like kind of actually the ones that need to be like watched and taken care of.
Yeah.
But they go over to the house. I was going to say the group of them, and they are asking them like, what kind of name is that? Like, where are you guys from? Is that Slovak? Like, what's the deal? Are you? And he asked the guy at one point, like, is that a Christian name? So there is even a little bit of that kind of
Yeah.
eerie aspect of, the grand other. These guys just, kind of, there's an aspect of xenophobia, maybe, like, who are these people?
Yeah. I thought it was also good just on a like base level that this might be one of Tom Hanks's last comedy portrayals before he just went uber serious.
Right. Although he doesn't provide a lot of the comedy. He's hilarious in it, but it's like one of these things where it's like, you know, they say, I've heard this in acting where it's like, you know, you don't want to act funny. You got to act the part that's funny within a funny scene, right? Like knowing that the actor's just a medium. So like he's incredibly dramatic through most of it, Like even
Yeah.
the ending, I love how he's just like so broken, Like,
Yeah.
it's a great ending. It's almost like the ending is Zero Dark 30. Like, remember, did you see Zero Dark 30?
I didn't see it. No.
Oh, dude, you got to watch that. It's great.
Yeah.
I loved it. Yeah. But
Okay. All right.
Jessica Chastain, oh, spoiler alert.
Uh-oh.
Spoiler alert, they murder Bin Laden. But no, I was gonna say,
Oh yeah.
spoiler
That.
alert. The real ending is just it's Jessica Chastain, and this is Catherine Bigelow's brilliance. The director is like it's just Chastain sitting on the plane. They give her like a military escort, and the the Air Force pilot turns around. He's like, "Where am I taking you? The mission's complete." And she just starts crying and is like, "I don't fucking know." Basically, like she like. And that's kind of cool because it's like it just ends the movie on such an enigmatic note. Like it's not like
Yeah.
yeah, we did it, sort of like
Yeah.
mission accomplished George Bush era stuff. But it's
Yeah.
also not like, oh, this was a bad thing and we fucked up.
Yeah.
It's just sort of what it kind of did feel like, which is just like it's just, compounded on tragedies and a certain feeling of lostness and
Yeah.
it was really cool. But kind of Hanks is that way at the end too, like he's not even happy. He's just like
Yeah.
it's like, all right, I guess we'll go to the lake house now.
I do want to talk back to Corey Feldman though, getting in there.
I was gonna say Feldman as the audience, he if you watch it again, it's funny. Like he sits on the porch, he sits up on the roof deck, and he kind of just watches the movie with you. There's even a part, and I was
Yes.
thinking it as I'm watching it, like this is kind of. I wonder if they were self-consciously employing this as like a kind of mock audience. And he's so like kind of Johnny Cool in the movie, where as a kid, if you're watching, you're like, oh, this kid's so badass. He's got the big speaker system. The parents are like
Yes.
away for the weekend. He's just doing some painting, and he's got all his buddies, and they're just watching this whole sequence take place on what is like the set. Like you said, it's almost like a stage play that they're watching. And and at one point they even break out popcorn. They're like sitting up there, like having their like sodas and snack, like movie snacks, watching this thing take place. So I really like that as a kind of a mechanism.
Yeah. I love it, man. Yeah, it is. It's quite. I remember the feeling of seeing it. I'm pretty sure now that I did see it in the theater, and that it was like it felt. I think I was confused coming out at first because there are these themes in there that I probably just wasn't. I was 9 years old,
Right.
but
Exactly.
it was like riding the edge of genres. So it was like, what was that? And so in a way, it was kind of
I remember being
revolutionary.
spooked by it. I mean, I think I was like 8 when that was
Yeah.
in theaters, and it, like it won't spook you watching it now, but like when you're an 8-year-old and like that sequence where he's like looking in the back, and it's cool too because I feel like I don't remember exactly, but I feel like they didn't reveal if it's like a dream sequence or if he's actually seeing it. But the neighbors are in hoods and they just all look like reapers and they're burying bodies in the rain.
Yes. Yeah.
It's definitely, it's definitely some of those moments that are fucked up. And they
And
make
we
that
lived it.
family so scary. I mean, they're just all
Yeah.
so like ghost faced and the house is all fucked up. And
We were saying the one kid from the family who was in Can't Buy Me Love, which was filmed in Tucson. So he's but the fear factor of knowing this was happening, and like then I'm just going home to my house in the suburbs.
Right. Oh, so it hits close to home.
It hits close to home. You're like, what's happening? And then a neighbor moves in, and you're like, huh, this is scary.
They did a great job of making it kind of anywhere America too. I mean,
Anytown, USA.
I was the reason I wanted to look up that street. I kept thinking when I was watching it, it's like the cul-de-sac, as you mentioned, itself is like a character.
Yeah.
There's they just keep referring to like their street and their block, and it's like, and I think even the way visually it operates. I mean, there's something to be said for like we talk about, and there's such a fetish for it now, like pre-CGI imagery. Like there's some great accounts online that just run archives of all this cool shit that was done with practical effects, and you imagine a lot of the kids that are
I want to see that. Like what kind of like it gives you
there's one at anti-CGI.
Wow.
And he's got a really great account because he kind of makes some deep cuts. Like it's not all just streamlined stuff. Like he finds like really, you'd love it. He just finds really out there 70s and 80s sci-fi and horror stuff, and just some of the most weird and creative practical effects imagery. But
yes,
you'll love that. But
I'm into that. I want to check that out.
But with the Burbs, it's not even so much the fact that it's practical effects. I think it's also just that shooting on one, and this is why I looked it up and I was fascinated. It's like, did they build that? Like, what was the thinking with the street? Apparently it did pre-exist. It's like a backlot at Universal.
Okay.
But I love the way that it becomes such a kind of central motif.
Yeah.
Like people talk about like the tree with Beckett. Something like that.
Yeah.
But it's funny too, just as an aside. So it's a Universal lot, and I think I mentioned before it was used for other things. It turns out it was the street of Leave It to Beaver.
No way.
Yeah. So that's where Beaver lived.
Oh, that's beautiful that they co-opted it for this story.
And Desperate Housewives was based on that cul-de-sac.
Wow.
So
that's great.
So that's cool because
so
both of those it's kind of interesting. Like both of those could feed into the movie nicely.
I also I remember being really into Bruce Dern's character at the time.
Oh, he's awesome.
Now realizing what an incredible actor he is. You have some powerhouses. Good. Bruce Dern, Tom Hanks.
So good.
Jeez. Yeah, I mean it's quite a cast.
It's
funny. Poor Corey Feldman
too, because his character, and he's Rumsfeld.
Ah, right.
Which is really another one of those things that like wasn't funny when we were 8 or 9, but it's hilarious now because he's that gun-toting. I think he's supposed to be a Nam vet. And he's sort of wearing that on his sleeve through the whole movie, and that's why he's so gun-ho to surveil these neighbors, and he's the one that's really taking more of like a strategic military approach to how to study these people and figure out if they really are incinerating dead bodies in their basement.
I had to just look up this one thing because I remember seeing it from a while ago, but at the time, because I think I'm just still really fascinated with Corey Feldman. Corey Feldman, remember he had this whole thing with Michael Jackson.
Yes.
He was buddies with him.
You love all this from that Mr. Show skit. What was it?
Right, yeah. Josh Fenderman.
Yes,
Josh Mr. Fenderman. Show skit. It's probably going to be a Mr. Show reference to every episode here.
Oh.
As we're talking.
You missed the last one.
The Josh Fenderman. So yeah, they're doing that whole skit. That's a great Mr. Show skit. Definitely watch that. That's fantastic. The life of Corey Feldman. So he was buddies with him at that point, and during the shooting of the Burbs, Michael Jackson was often on set. He would come to set and visit with Bubbles, the monkey.
Oh my God. Can you fucking imagine? You gotta be kidding me.
Until the director had to ban Bubbles from set.
Oh my God. God damn. It's too bad it's not the era of like, the where you get the extra footage, like the second DVD, because it'd be nice to have footage of like the Hanks and the masked murderers chilling with Bubbles and
Oh God. I mean, I feel like that would be awesome to see. Um, I don't know if this. So some some people might not agree with that story if it's being real, but I think it was true.
it's good enough to just run with it.
He also came out of I remember, just to jump off of that to piggyback off with Feldman and his horror career, because he was in. I never watched all the Friday the 13th movies till recently. I've seen most of them now, but he was in, I forget, part 4. Feldman,
Which one
three
is
or
part
4.
4?
It's with Feldman. Yeah, he was in that
No, but
as the
what's the
main kid.
title of part 4?
Oh, jeez.
I think by 4, don't they have like subtitles? There's like the second title, like Friday the 13th, Jason Goes to Hell.
Right. Oh, Jason Goes to Hell. Yeah, this the final chapter.
Okay.
1984. So I think this was before pre-Goonies.
I don't think I've seen that one.
He was real little there. But that feels like
I saw Jason X. Have you seen that?
I've never seen Jason X.
Jason X is amazing.
Really?
So he's somehow I mean, it's definitely the most convoluted of all of them.
Wait, is he on a space? Is in space?
He's on a spaceship and he's riding through space with all these like incredibly sexually attractive 20-something-year-old outer space scientists.
Oh my God.
Who are like exploring the celestial bodies, but like also have some sort of relationship to this like teen mass murderer. I can't remember. I mean, I saw it years ago, but there's this amazing sequence where they're trying to trick him. And so they set up these holograms of these like half-naked college girls, like having a pillow fight or something. And it's like the whole hologram has the backdrop of the lake, and they're trying to stimulate like his murder impulse, I guess. So he sees the hologram and he sees the girls with the sleeping bags, and he runs over, and they're holograms, but he can interact with them. This is some futuristic space technology they've got on the ship. But
sorry, wait, they brought him on intentionally, or he appeared?
I can't remember. I can't remember if they were like going to do experiments on him, or if he like snuck on. Because they're research scientists. They're just research scientists with cleavage. And,
okay. So sorry, they were enacting with the hologram. He had him.
So he goes over and he takes one of the girls in the sleeping bag and he just starts beating the other one to death with the other girl in the sleeping bag, using her inside the sleeping bag as sort of like a human hammer.
Oh my God.
And and they're like, he's buying it, and then they all pop out with assault rifles, and that sequence is it's a pretty incredible visual.
That's amazing. I probably need to see that one scene. That was like when there was this fascination with all these horror movies, like took it to space at what it was like so Jason X, Leprechaun 4 in space.
Oh, he went to space?
Critters. Yeah, Leprechaun in space.
Is that after he went to the ghetto?
I think it might have been pre-ghetto.
Okay.
I think it was pre-ghetto. Yeah.
So he went to outer space before he was even willing to like go to Bed-Stuy.
I'm not positive. I could be wrong, but it was.
Or maybe he was in Compton. Leprechaun in the Hood, I think, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
That was a good one. That's the one where he's like hitting a 3-foot bong.
Dude, Warwick Davis.
Yeah.
From Willow, and who also I think he was R2D2. What's that?
He's from Phantom Menace.
Was he?
Yeah, definitely.
Warwick Davis in Phantom Menace?
Yeah.
Oh, he played it, like he played R2D2 in Phantom Menace?
I don't know if he's multiple characters. He's visibly Willow at one point. I think you knew
Really?
Star Wars better than me. Am I making this up?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm into it though. I'm gonna go for it. Like that idea. Yeah, he's anyway, yeah, there was a lot of while you're looking here, there's a lot of horror space movies that started then, you know. It's like in the 80s when everything started to like the sequel was like in New York, Gremlins 2 in New York, the
Right.
new batch, the Short Circuit 2. Everyone's going to New York.
So Phantom Menace, Willow Ufgood, aka Torn Drumheller. Played by
Huh.
Yes. So yeah, it is Willow.
That's amazing. Well,
I just
that's
wanted to
cool.
say Phantom Menace.
I know you were actually really into that. There was you sent me something the other day of the Jar Jar Binks meme. And then I somehow was just talking about the day before to someone.
I don't know why I
so
would send the meme because I actually really like him. I feel so
Yeah.
bad for that actor. There's like a little 7-minute thing you can watch online where that
Really?
dude's like, yeah, it's unreal. And I mean, it's just one man, but it's like you think about what he went through for all the fallout from that movie, and it's unbelievable.
Well, but people wouldn't recognize him.
Yeah, but dude, Star Wars fans are just so psychotic, I mean,
They'll know who it
he was
is.
getting like death threats and shit. People thought they were like blaming him for ruining the entire. I think Phantom Menace is better than any of the 3 new ones, you know?
Any of the 3 new ones, the last 3?
The J.J. Abrams stuff. Oh yeah, take Phantom Menace over that any day.
Wow. I know you're gonna get some flack for
Now I'm
that.
gonna get some hate mail.
That comment. You're gonna get some death
Just
threats
way
on
more
your
fun. I mean, Lucas didn't work on the new ones. He wrote and directed Phantom Menace, and I just
Right,
think
right.
it's way more fun. Lucas is always thinking about the kids. These new ones don't feel like they're for the kids. And then you're like, who is it even for? It's like the hardcore nerds didn't like them because they like didn't get it right. And then like I think it's like it's a little dark and not as fun for the kids. And it's just like, who is this even for? I think that's what happens when you try to please too many people.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, as Ricky Nelson said it best, you can't please everyone, so you got to please yourself.
There you go.
It was when he was the song Garden Party. It was about when he was playing his new kind of country music. This is the guy who did he did like I'm a traveling man, made a lot of stops. His old 50s
Oh
like
yeah.
heartthrob, and then he started doing his kind of country sound, and he was at a garden party. I think John Lennon was there and other people, and he just started doing this thing, and
Wow.
then he's like, I do gotta be me. And then he wrote the song about him being exactly.
It's my only country sample.
That's a good one though. That sums it up. Yeehaw. Yeah, so that's I would be willing to give Phantom Menace another try. I'd be willing to, because it's been a long time since seeing that.
If you didn't like it the first time, you're probably not going to like it now.
But wait, so Jar Jar Binks, anyway, there's a thing about the actor who he hit
It's
rock
so
bottom.
sad. It's like you realize how like sometimes these hyperbolic responses from fan nerds are like they're just so off the mark. I mean, like, people were talking about the character being racist and saying, "Oh, it sounds like this island."
Oh, right, yeah, the Rastafarian.
Or even maybe something more specific, because he points to it and he's like, the irony is like, that's actually my heritage. And he was like,
Oh,
it wasn't even like Lucas, the producers, it was my choice, knowing that this character, like lived underwater in this, sort of jungle environment. He's like, I thought it'd be interesting to like, use some of the accent that I've picked up from my family heritage, and kind of like bring some of that to the character, make it feel like a little bit more, whatever, like this kind of like regional dialect for this group. I can't even remember what they're called. Liz.
But what about when he sticks his tongue out and does?
because he's catching flies. I think the thing is they live in water, so the choice was to make them like frogs. So they've got these tongues that can just fucking grab insects and shit.
And his ears are really floppy.
This is why. This is how you
His
like the original.
His ears are really floppy.
He's got the ears. The original plan was Jar Jar, and this is so brilliant, and this is how they just destroyed the entire thing. Was he was going to be like a drunken master? The foolishness aspect. Have you seen Drunken Master?
Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, I know what you mean.
That's a fucking amazing movie.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Watch Drunken Master, but you know, the whole thing was that, you know, he wasn't as foolish or as sloppy as you thought, that he actually was this Sith master, and his initial narrative destiny was going to be the reveal that he's actually the Sith Lord, and he was going to be essentially what Count Dooku was in the following movies. And that's what you were going to get, was this reveal that, oh, actually this guy's working his way inside to get after Anakin. And that's why he was all like up on Anakin and the whole thing. And he was going to be Dooku. So that means actually, well, the crazy thing is the end of 2 would have meant Yoda facing off in a lightsaber duel against Jar Jar rather than Dooku. And so with all the vitriolic hate and the just insane negativity that, you know, after the first one, they decided to pull the plug. They were like, we can't keep writing this character. People are irate. So they buried him. Like in the second movie, he's in it, but he doesn't even say anything. He's just kind of background, basically. Yeah. So they just
the focus groups must have
and Dooku, who's the lamest character. I don't know why he's Count. Like, what is he, a fucking Dracula character? I like what were they? I don't know why he's Count Dooku. Fucking Count Chocula shows up with a cereal. And he came out of nowhere. And this guy, he just looked like some nerd's dad. He looked like some IBM programmer, your buddy you have a sleepover with. You got to go to sleep at 9. He's got that gray beard that's all like fucking manicured. It's like that was the worst decision in movie history.
Yeah.
To not let Jar Jar roll out as just this dominant Sith Lord. And then you would have seen him in those floating fucking bubbles at the Senate, you know, and he would have
at the Senate.
He would have just been middle fingers in the air like, fuck all y'all. I'm actually like, I'm down with the Sith.
It's sticking his tongue out at everyone.
It's me and Palpatine now, bitches.
Oh my gosh. Natalie Portman.
Pork.
I actually did the master class with Natalie Portman. We got a subscription. I just did some stuff, you know, some of the acting classes. I was like bored at the beginning of quarantine, and we were running out of stuff. So we have a subscription. You could just like go to get anybody on there. And so like, I'll do Natalie Portman here, because I was looking what are some of the best ones, and I did that. And you know, throughout I'm like I got a few little pointers, you know, that were cool. But then I kind of hit me as I was watching. I'm like, oh, you were in the first 3 Star Wars movies, and she didn't really talk about that. She talked about it a little bit.
She probably buries that.
I think everyone's just trying to bury it, you know?
Yeah.
They just want to bury it. Like, honestly, my favorite part of all of those is Ewan McGregor.
Oh, he's great
as Obi-Wan. I think he did great. I'm still excited. I think they're doing a movie on him.
It makes so much sense.
Series with him in it. It's like he was great.
I mean, that was just good casting, right? It's one of those moments where you're like, wow.
He was cast. I think he was cast really, really well for that. Yeah. That was like, 90s. That was when we were like, I remember we cut school to go to see the opening show. It was before they were doing the like midnight viewings, you know,
right? Oh,
when a movie come out Thursday night. And I remember going, we'd cut school maybe in the morning, or just didn't go to school, and there'd be a line of us at Movies 10, Cinemark Movies 10 in this newer theater that opened nearby.
Mm-hmm.
And we would just all be lined up, and we're like waiting for tickets and see the first show.
Yeah.
And we did it forever. I think towards the third one, the numbers dropped a little in how many kids were cutting school.
Well, by the time that one came out, we were living in Philly and chilling. I mean, I remember going to see that one with Brady
That's right.
and
We
my
were.
brother. My brother was visiting, and the three of us went. I actually fell asleep for the third one.
Oh,
Even though
really?
I do like it. Yeah, but I had fallen, which I never do, but for some reason I fell asleep in the theater. And
The Anakin kid, he also kind of got the older Anakin. He I think he got a little kind of outed from Hollywood.
did he?
Like I don't know. I don't think he was cast in a lot of stuff
Oh,
after
I thought
that.
you meant like he got like cancel culture.
No. He
Get
was no,
outed.
right? Yeah. I don't know
Oh,
what
he
the
just
word
didn't
is.
get any other. Yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah, he was just kind of like that was it. It was
Probably guilty by association because he wasn't bad. I mean,
yeah.
I really liked him in the third one. I thought he did such a good job of being torn. There's that whole thing of he's not sure if the Jedi are deceiving him. They eventually ask him to kill Palpatine. He's like, why would I kill the head of the Senate? What the hell's going on? And
Right.
and he just
Yeah.
doesn't know what side to take, and he's torn and angry, and at the same time, like Amidala is pregnant, and he's just like, what the fuck should I do? Like, do I have this kid? Do I protect my state, my local government? Do I
Right.
side with these like fucking weird mystics that just,
Yeah.
you know,
He
that's
he's
you and I have been in that situation.
yeah, like Anakin.
Yeah. And like, do I raise a kid? Do I stay
Uh
state sponsored? Do I just chill with these fucking weird mystic gurus up in that tower that just want to meditate?
yeah. Yeah, it's a pretty it's true. It's a really like
He's all
it's
fucked
a,
up, man. You kind of feel bad for him. And then if you remember, um, Obi-Wan cuts his legs off, and that's a great scene too, where
I
it's
remember
like
that.
he's in the lava and he's just like fucking melting, and they've got his face like dripping off the side of his ass, and
Yeah.
he's crawling up legless with his face melting. And I thought that was great too, because the originals like were kind of like did have these moments that were like kind of scary or gory. Like
Well, this was
remember when Luke's
yeah.
training with Yoda, and he has the experience in the cave where there's like the decoy Vader, and he cuts the head
Oh,
off, opens
yes.
the mask, and it's Luke. It's like it's just
Yeah.
so visually jarring.
That was scary. It
Like,
was visually jar-jarring.
oh, come on.
Dude, you set me up for that. The thing that I didn't like about the first three, and this has been toted many, many times, is the overuse of CGI. And so talking earlier, what we were going to the anti-CGI site that you were talking about, or the guy that has that. Lucas got like CGI crazy, mad with power, and he just overdoes it. It's like everything CGI, way too much. And things look dated now, where um, they have that like early CGI, like you can just see through it. Nowadays, it's a little easier to blend, but I don't know. That's
It
yeah.
in a way, I guess I don't mind it entirely, just because it's like it's so self-aware in its deployment. Like it's like
Mm-hmm.
we're just gonna do. I mean, it does get nutty. I in general don't like it, just period
Yeah,
across the board. And I think it's just unfortunately it's with us to stay.
it
The
is.
really sad thing is like it's not.
Well, there might be a resurgence, though, I will say, and I think there is a little bit. And how now there's like um, people going back to roots of like carpentry, like basket weaving, and more like home goods and things like that. Like I think there's a movement to kind of make it real, although it takes a lot more time. But I think that'll happen in Hollywood. I think
You're
it'll come.
suggesting that because people are getting into basket weaving that
There'll
Hollywood
be
might
less
just say,
CGI.
let's drop the CGI and just weave some baskets for this thing.
No, let's make actual, like, props and
Oh,
costumes
just
and
in general craft, right? I see what you mean.
yeah, crafts, yeah, the
Craft
craftsmen.
aesthetics.
Yeah, and like I think that's going to carry over in the newer
You
generation
get it in
to
certain movies
Hollywood.
now, but it's almost a pastiche. Like there was the one with Melissa
Yeah,
McCarthy where she's like, which was pretty
the
funny.
puppets.
Yeah, and it's like,
Yeah,
ha ha,
yeah,
like here's this sort of trope of 70s puppeteering,
right.
and and it's a pastiche. I don't know. I think the biggest problem for me is the CGI in combination with motion blur camera work, and that's something that's
Mm.
pervasive now. And you'll notice it most in, for instance, the Avengers movies.
Yeah, I
And
was just about to say that. Yeah,
it's
yeah,
hysterical to me because those were some of the highest budgeted movies ever made. And yet, like when I talked to my buddy Joe Como, who works in Hollywood, and he does production design and stuff. And I was like, why are they fucking doing all this motion blur stuff, especially with, these inflated budgets? And he was saying it looks so good because it disguises discrepancies between like built world
Mm.
shots. Like say you've got a shot of, Robert Downey Jr. and then in the back you got all these different robots with their, getting their buttholes blown off the side of their balls and everything. And it's like he realizes that, hey, the director, if we put this thing in motion, you're not going to see that discrepancy. And actually, when it's in motion, it's going to look the way the eye does when you spin your head, and it's going to be this, compelling image.
Yeah,
And it just
yeah.
it's like it gives you convulsions or something to me. I mean, it's like something you would torture someone with, like if you
Yeah, it makes it uncomfortable. It makes like a wash, washing just
it
kind of
looks like
it's
overkill.
fatiguing.
If
I feel
you pause movies like that, like if you pause a clip of, I mean, the other problem is, and this happens in, like, I was gonna say the Hobbit movies, which I got dragged into watching because I never really was into that, and the Avengers for sure. And what were we talking about? It plays into that too. Is the prequels. In
yeah,
all of those instances, you've got these scenes where there's literally hundreds of people battling hundreds of other people, and you're just
yep.
watching gunfire from every direction and fucking robots and mutants running around everywhere, and it's just overload. Like the
Mm,
human eye is not supposed to account for like 300 subjects in our gaze at a time.
yeah,
It's psychotic. And I just think that, maybe that's a problem of writing. And then you've got the problem of CGI, and then you've got this like shortcut method of the motion camera to get the blur. You combine all three of those things, and it's a visual nightmare. I mean,
I,
it's like
yeah.
watching some kind of like oatmeal looking diarrhea get shot and fast forward, and
I
it just,
I also love this coming from a visual artist. You are like,
well, maybe that's why it
think
bothers
about
me more. I don't know.
think about the total opposite of you're working on a painting for your work to like going from that to this insane spectacle.
Well, it's funny. It sounds like this is a perfect setup because my last show, I even did. I've been doing this thing of doing color studies of films, and it's fascinating when you take movies and look at them on a timeline and just
Mm,
isolate. What you do is you pull the color average of each sequence. Like you can take it. Usually works even if you do like a 10-minute spread, but you can shrink
yeah.
it down to even taking one every 20 seconds. But you take the color average of the image, and there's converters online. It's really easy to do that. You take an image and find its color average, which is like the
Yeah.
single dominant color out of the image's entirety, and you can see on a timeline just through the color, the narrative sequences. A passionate scene might delve into like deep reds and purples, and oftentimes when they're going to anticipate death, they're going to hit you with a lot of greens and whites, and there's just these
Wow.
certain colors, and they're not always presumptive. Sometimes it's surprising which ones work for a certain emotional, trigger. But
Like, is there a common kind of average or denominator of like, hey, green is like a death sequence? Is it always different, or is it
there's a
usually
lot
they're
of
taking?
recurring ones, and then the
Interesting.
more I looked into it, you find that there's been a lot of literature produced that's like kind of pseudoscientific in terms of like how to identify and utilize different colors for these kinds of emotional vectors. And
Oh
what's
wow.
interesting to me is just like it's like the color is almost it's like it kind of like pre-directs the audience's affectation. Like you don't even have to.
Yeah.
Not that these movies give you any time for self-reflection anyway.
Hmm.
I mean, like you're not exactly watching an Eric Romer movie when you're watching Avengers: Age of Ultron, but
Yeah.
but I think it does. It's almost like it even just pre-wires the brain that like, okay, now I'm gonna feel sadness. Okay, now I'm gonna
Yeah.
get a boner. Okay, now I'm gonna laugh. And it
It's
just sort of
yeah.
it guides you before you even have the maybe experience. But I was gonna say I did one of the Avengers movies um, just because they're so color heavy, and I feel like they're so brainwashy in terms of just leaving the audience with no room.
Yeah.
Um, but
Would
that's
you
really,
would
I
you
still
notice
want to
with?
do Avatar. Avatar's hilarious because like the entire movie's blue.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's just it's blue. It's a blue
I
movie.
mean, there's like the sex sequence that I think, if I remember, like bursts into either greens or purples. And like there's some differentiation between like they go to the real world like lab shots and military shots where it's like a cool metal blue, but whenever they're
Yeah.
in that jungle world, of course, it's just like those dominant saturated cyans. And but it's
Oh
funny when you
wow.
see the color timeline, when it's just been reduced to little blocks of color. It's hilarious.
That's so fascinating, man. I love it. I love it. Just like distilling it down to that.
I mean, the other thing you see with it that's really simple, like there's is it Freitag, the Freitag three-part structure of narrative, which I think he wrote in terms of theater, but it applies to film, which is like what is it? It's like the rise of the tension, the
Uh
climax, the resolution.
hmm.
And it's
Yeah.
funny because those 3 points always have color accents when you look at the color averages on the timeline.
Oh,
Like a
interesting.
really good one was Mad Max Fury Road, where it's
Yeah.
like these piercing oranges at each of those pivot points.
Whoa.
Yeah,
This is so cool, man. It's like what an interesting, yeah, just like not saying subliminal, but just an interesting way of distilling it down to these kind of base
it is kind of
levels.
subliminal though. I think color functions
Yeah.
subliminally a lot of the time, and we don't know it. I mean,
Yeah.
my initial interest in color psychology and it was just kind of a painting endeavor was looking into this specific green that you see. Like I've seen it all over New York City, and thinking about it because like they would use it on scaffolding, um, on certain buildings when they were doing expansion projects, and part of like Bloomberg's eminent domain sort of campaign of repurposing and like quote unquote revitalizing whatever. And I was like, this color just seems so sedative,
Yeah. Yeah.
to your point. And I looked into it, and it's funny, it's hard to like look up a color. Like you can't like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? But I did start realizing like, oh yeah, it's an institutional green. And I think like using some of those keywords, I ended up finding that it was initially used in hospitals.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about this kind of, the green, like it's like, you think of like turn of the century hospital tiles that have that like it's not quite teal, it's like it's not as cold as like as a teal, but it's on its way to that, and very
Mm, I know.
flushed out with white tinted up.
Yeah. I
And
know what you're
it
talking
turns out
about.
it's the color opposite on the color wheel of human blood. What
Oh, wow.
and so what they would do is they would paint the walls this color because the surgeons and nurses, after seeing an open body, would have the after image of that color. And so if the color's already there, there's like a kind of a, like it's a little bit of emotional pillow, like it's already that softening that the brain wants, giving you the color opposite, is already in the environment. And when the brain starts to experience it, rather than being startling, you're already experiencing that color, so it seems immersive, natural, I guess. And so yeah, to your point, I think there is some element of what was the word you used?
Subliminal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
That's fascinating. My God.
Yeah, I mean, once I got into this,
theory.
then you start like looking around at like the corporate reality we're in, and you realize, like, God, like there's color triggers all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. There is. Yeah, right. They're really those are all intentional. It's not like just guessing.
Right.
What are we gonna do here? It's like, no, they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. That's fascinating. I might have to wrap it up here, buddy. I want to ask one last question because there's so much more to go into.
Yeah. I had questions for you too.
I know. Well, we're just gonna have to do more here,
Next time.
and I want to know what your. See, this is probably a big one. This is a big question, but what your favorite toy from childhood was?
Favorite toy.
You're talking about.
That's a tough one. I don't know if I could think of a favorite per se. I mean, you know this. We've talked before. My mom threw away all my toys.
Right. Right.
So it's like, I feel like there's so many that I can't even remember, you know what I mean? That are probably like 80s things that just came and went in a blip.
Yeah.
Like I definitely remember G.I. Joes. I feel like those stuck around a little longer. And I probably just, I don't necessarily remember it because it was a favorite. I think I just remember it because it lasted so long.
Right.
That show had a long run.
It did.
And they just kept releasing those figures. And you'd even buy, like, this is the brilliance of capitalism, where it's like you'll buy the same thing multiple times.
Yeah, right.
It's like Cobra Commander with like a white hood, Cobra Commander with a gray hood and a rocket launcher, Cobra Commander with baggy pants, Cobra Commander with a tight shirt and hard nipples. And you just keep buying, you just have all of them.
You got to get them all. You got to get a packaged one to hold for later on in life, and then you get to buy one that you play with.
Oh, there's that type too. Yeah.
I never did that. But there was something you were telling me.
My buddy Joe had some figures and packages, and I would go over there and just be like, "This is so fucked up.
Can we please play with them?"
So fucked up. What are you, 40?
What was the one you were telling me about?
If you have the cognitive sense of like, I'm going to keep this in a package because it's worth money, you're at that point too old to be playing with toys anyway. Like that's the sign to stop buying toys.
Right. It's true. What was the one you were telling me about? There was the toy that you mentioned that you did like.
Right. Yeah, because you had asked me about toys. Food Fighters.
That
I had to look it up though. I remembered the little cheeseburger guy with legs, and that was really influential to me. And
I remember when you told me this, I totally forgot about them, but I remember having some of them and I remember the French fries, like, and they were kind of, they're like pissed off and, he's just angry, and they were like food against, what a great idea. I know it wasn't a toy that took off super far, but it was definitely like awesome. Some of those things. I looked them up and I saw some of these characters. And then what I loved is I found a commercial.
Looking it up right now.
With them. And the commercial was all like claymation of the characters.
Oh, send me that.
Back when like claymation was super, that was like, had a huge heyday in the 80s for like a lot of toys and stuff. And so it was kind of brilliant. They'd animate it like that. And then you'd buy it and you'd be like, why aren't they moving around like in the commercial? Why isn't my French fry fighting soldier walking around and shooting? But those things are great, man, because it's like awesome. You open the refrigerator and they're all like They're all battling. Junk food battle.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. It's funny. My memory of those toys was so different than when I looked them up. And I think, like you, I was picturing, maybe not the ad, but I think I was picturing the image on the packaging. And I was
yes.
And then I saw the actual plastic toy. It's just so shitty looking. But it's funny how, and we probably had better imaginations than kids these days that are just, hardwired with, iPhones out the ass. But it's funny. I think that, like, you'd buy a toy like that, and that cardstock packaging would be the thing you thought you were getting. And I think you had enough imagination that you could kind of think that that's the thing you were playing with. It's like incredibly polished, hyper realist acrylic painting on the cardboard packaging, when really you just had this like 3-colored plastic lump that looks like a fucking joke shop poop toy.
That's a good one to end on. I think I'm gonna check out Food Fighters. People need to look that up. They're fun and crappy.
Yeah, folks, if you need any toys, Food Fighters.
Got to get Food Fighters. Got to pay up to wazoo on eBay for Food Fighters.
How much were they?
I checked them out. They're like some of them go for like $30-$40 a pop.
I totally understand the market for this stuff. As someone whose mother like liquidated basically their childhood collections.
You want to reclaim it.
Yeah,
you got to get it back.
Shit, Food Fighters.
Dude, it's so good to talk to you as always. This was a blast.
Yes,
let's do it again.
For having me on.
Yeah, man.
Looking forward to being on with Marty Zinkel.
It's coming.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
It's coming down the road here.
The Holy Trinity.
Yeah. All right, man. You be well.
All right, sir.
Oh, sexy girlfriend.
And on that note, I think that about sums it up. I've been really appreciative of Ben supplying us with some of these awesome sound effects and really cool quotes, such as that last one. You know what that's from, right? Okay. Yeah, really fun talking about the Burbs. If you haven't seen it, stop what you're doing, watch it, go see it. It reminded me, that segment, of some of my fellow podcasters at thenecronomy.com. Really cool podcast. I was on last year as a guest, 2 hosts, and their whole theme is horror movies and social commentary. The show I did with them was on Jacob's Ladder, the original with Tim Robbins. Wow, that's a good one. Really wild movie. So yeah, check them out. They're cool. And interesting, Ben has some deep allegiance to those first 3 Star Wars, episode 1 to 3. And I respect that. So I'm just wondering, has Jar Jar Binks gotten the short end of the lightsaber? I feel bad hearing that the actor is pretty bummed out. We really can't let that happen. Maybe we gotta give him another chance. I don't know. Think about it. So it was great talking to Ben. I can't wait to do it again. To talk to Ben. That was a kind of a weird rhyme. And I look forward to the future as it is unwritten. What kind of story do you want to write? What will it be? Let me know. Reach out to me whenever you want. We'll talk about it. All right. Take her easy. Be well.
They are